What's up, guys? My name is Jerry, and today's video is going to be on the Atlanta Hawks, and we're going to be talking about how this team has finally turned their season around, and we're going to jump right into the video. Now, looking at the Atlanta Hawks so far this season, they're 24-26, sitting at 10th in the Eastern Conference, and they've been able to fight their way back into playoff contention. I believe if the NBA season ended today, the Atlanta Hawks would be eligible for the play-in tournament. I believe it's the 10th seed through the 9th seed. It's a 3-team tournament between those 3 seedings. So, with that being said, Atlanta Hawks have been playing some really great basketball recently. Winning 7 straight, won 7 out of their last 10 games, and then also going on a 7-game winning streak that they looked really impressive on. This is kind of starting to remind me of, how last season went. We seen last season, the Atlanta Hawks, they got off to a nice, decent start. They hit a rough patch where they lost, a lot more games than they were winning. And then towards the midway point last season, it was after the All-Star game, they started to crank it up, and I think they got either to the 5th or 6th seed, I can't remember, but they climbed from like the 10th seed all the way to top 5, top 6 in the Eastern Conference. And that's the vibe that I'm getting from these guys, this season. That's what it's starting to look like. We getting towards that halfway mark of the season, and it looks like the Atlanta Hawks are starting to figure it out. So that's what we're gonna be talking about, man. How they, what's contributing to them turning their season around. And I think the number one thing is John Collins is starting to figure out his role. And we all know that it got leaked out to the media that he was that his role in Atlanta was making him unhappy. So and I don't think it's more of like he don't like his role. I think it's more of John Collins doesn't know what his role is. So if we look at John Collins, he's the longest tenured Hawk on this team. He's been an Atlanta Hawk for the longest. And we go back to his rookie year, he showed a lot of potential in it, averaging like 11 points and 7 rebounds in 24 minutes. That's pretty decent. And then we fast forward to his 3rd year in the NBA, he averaged a 20-point double-double, 21 points and 10 rebounds, and that's super impressive whenever you could do that. So when and before Clint Capella came to the team, John Collins played a lot of small ball center, so that's what he was used to. And when Capella came along, you got to think about it. When Capella came along, John Collins was no longer the primary defensive anchor. He was no longer the primary defensive shot blocker, and then he was no longer the primary rebounder. So when Clint Capella came along, we saw his rebounds and block shots take a bit of a dip. And that's just what it is, though, because I believe, me personally, I think John Collins, I think he's better at the 4 spot because looking at his frame and his build, he's not built to anchor the defense. Like, I don't think he will be able to guard Embiid or Jokic. I don't think he'll be able to guard those guys one-on-one. And I think he does I think defensively, I think he'd be much better in like a Draymond Green role because he's very versatile. He's a very underrated defender. He's very versatile. Like, he can guard perimeter players, and then he can rotate down. He can rotate up to the perimeter if they need to. And that's what John Collins does the best. He's one of the best weak side defenders in the league. Basically, he'll be a great cleanup man whenever guys on the perimeter, whenever they get beat, he rotate. And, he cleans up with getting some emphatic blocks. That's what John Collins does. Even though he is a great shot blocker, he has great length. That doesn't mean he has to play the 5 spot. And that's probably what John Collins, we don't know. That's probably what he liked more, playing the 5, because it makes his numbers, it makes him look better statistically. It makes him look better on paper. And then offensively, his role is just to be whatever the Hawks, need him to be. Like, he adds a lot. He adds a lot to the offensive side of the floor. Like, he can stretch the floor. He can shoot the 3 ball. He's a great roller to the rim. His post bag isn't too deep. His shot creation isn't that great, but great finisher at the rim, great at catching lobs, great at putback dunks, and he can shoot the basketball. He's like your prototypical, power forward that you want in today's NBA. So I think, John Collins, he's looked really good on this, on this recent stretch of games. Like I said, it looks like he's starting to work with the team and finding his identity. And as far as it comes to trading him, I don't think I would do it because these guys are so young and it's only the first half of a down season. I don't think that's nothing to, unless he's just, downright unhappy, get me out of here. But other than that, I think they should keep John Collins and, keep this together, because he's been looking really good recently. And, we're going to move on to our next factor. I think the Atlanta Hawks have found another great, little baby duo, Lou Williams and Double O. And, mainly Double O. Double O has been playing really, really great recently, playing some really great basketball. And it's really been his energy on the defensive side of the defensive side of the ball, and the offensive side of the ball really has really helped this Atlanta Hawks team. He's been like like an Energizer bunny, blocking shots, defending the paint, catching lobs, getting putbacks. And then on the defensive side of the ball, really, the games he started when Capella has been down, he's looked like a very formidable center in this league, man. Guarding some of the best centers, making them work hard for their buckets, and he's just been really good this season. It's only his second season in the NBA, and it's starting to look like he's showing a lot of upside. But back to him and Lou Will, like their pick and roll has really helped, Double O. It's really helped his offensive game a lot, because a lot of the times, he's waiting for a lob, or he's waiting to get it off the offensive rebound to score his points. But, Lou Will actually has taken him under his wing. Like, Lou Will is his mentor. And so that connection has, it has bubbled on to the court. And they, they play some really good buckets together. I mean, some really good basketball together. And, Lou Williams' his offensive touch has helped, open up the game of basketball in a multitude of ways for, Okongwu. I can't say his first name, but Double O. I can say his last name, Okongwu. But he's been a really bright side for the Atlanta Hawks. This season, because they need a backup. They need a backup big. When it comes down to the playoffs, they're gonna need him to play some really, serious and really, quality minutes. So I'm like what I'm seeing from him. And then DeAndre Hunter. We all know, like, if he could stay healthy, this Atlanta Hawks team will be completely different, because, he gives the Atlanta Hawks their biggest, he helps protect their biggest weakness, and that's on the defensive side of the ball. Just having them out there guarding the best perimeter player on the opposing team. Because, like I said, they got two bigs down there, and John Collins and Clint Capella that that are solid at rim protecting. So all they really need is one solid. All they need is one solid perimeter defender, and that's DeAndre Hunter. And he's been there recently, and we've seen how differently this team looks when he's out there. And not only his defensive prowess, but just having him on the offensive side of the ball. He's a great catch and shoot shooter. He's shooting like 40% from three this season. And whenever the Atlanta Hawks have him out on the court healthy, completely different ball club. And it's never been a question of skill and ability or heart or willing to want it with DeAndre Hunter. It's just been his health. So he's been there recently, for these last stretch of games, and I hope he can stay healthy, because this team really needs him. So, and that's been helping them. And then last but not least, man, one of the best floor generals in the NBA today, one of the best point guards, Trae Young, having an MVP caliber season, averaging 29 points and 9 assists. Just crazy numbers. A couple of weeks ago, seen him go for 56 and 14. Even though they lost that game, the Simons dude, he got hot too. That was a fun game to watch. But Trae Young, he's always going to keep this team afloat, because he's just that good. He can control the game with, his shooting, his passing, and not too much to say about Trae Young that you guys don't already know about. And then, you still have the wing shooters who've been playing well. Kevin Huerter, Bogdanovich. We all know what those guys bring to the tables. Kevin Huerter, I feel like he's going to take a big leap this year when it comes to the playoffs, because we saw it last year when he basically, put the 76ers out the playoffs. He had a really big game. But, I like this Atlanta Hawks roster. And I think with removing Cam Reddish, it was easier to help everybody, especially those guys out on the wing, find their roles. So, that's going to be it for this video, man. I just want to talk about the Hawks and how, they're getting better and figuring things out, because, this is a way better team than what their record says. But, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment down below if you agree or disagree. And then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man. And that's curtains.